I have old friends in Canberra, most of whom are still married for 25, 30 years. And they have this one long narrative arc in their life. My life seems to be a series of discrete chapters, not because I've gone out to choose that, but because that's the way things have worked out. I grew up in a middle-class WOG family in Canberra. So Ukrainian father, Hungarian mother, a focus on food, a focus on culture, different to my fully Anglo friends. There were cultural differences that we were accustomed to that were really just miles apart from a lot of people around us. And when I speak to friends who come from mixed backgrounds but have grown up in Australia, we feel like hybrids. So when I went back to Europe for the first time in '95, I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to be back with my tribe. I'm going to Hungary for the first time. You know, I will finally reconnect with my roots. But of course, once I got there, I realized that I wasn't fully part of that tribe either. I had parts of that, and I had parts of the Australian continent in me, and I was a hybrid. Or as a friend Lee used to say, we're half-oos. Unless you come from that background, you will never fully understand. And so I think I was always, as a creative person, attracted to people who were creative. So my first boyfriend was a musician. We were composition students together in Adelaide, and he was a very fine viola player. He used to play with the Australian Chamber Orchestra. Then the second long-term partnership was an Armenian man who I met when I was working in the classical department of the new Brasher store in Chatswood in Sydney. I never liked Sydney as a place to be. Melbourne is totally different. I love being in Melbourne, and I love the community and culture and arts in Melbourne. So after only a year of living in Sydney, I basically took off to the Blue Mountain. I left him at 30 on the suggestion of a friend who said, what the hell are you doing up in the Blue Mountains? Come to Melbourne, Melbourne's great. So I basically packed up my life, jumped into a Light A's van and came to Melbourne. And I remember driving in on the Eastern Freeway, and I was so excited. I was viscerally excited to be in that city. That's how much I felt this is right. So not long afterwards, I was working as the retail manager at Going Solar, and that's where I met my husband to be. So the first meeting, I'm in my boots, my Blundstones and my jeans, and I'm moving paint cans and solar panels around, and he's zhooting around in a black jumper and beret and purple pants. And he leaves, and I think, oh my God, who was that wanker? First thought, right thought. But I would go down to visit him in his office premises, which I felt immediately at home in because they were very colourful and very beautiful and very warm. And because he comes from, he's Mauritian, he had that Europeanness about him, which was really lovely. So there were a number of synchronicities at the time. We kept on bumping into each other inadvertently. So it very much felt like puppets on strings. I've never quite felt that before with another relationship. And before you knew it, we were together and then going to get married. It was a whirlwind kind of life because he's a larger than life personality. And I felt like I lived 20 years in 10. And I did a whole host of things because of his dynamism, but also I learned a lot about being in the world. The theme throughout those early relationships is that they were all narcissists. They were all pretty much about themselves. I could not be an extra in his film anymore. I needed to be a protagonist in my own life. I never felt really part of that tribe. And my tribe is a creative tribe and a musical tribe and, you know, a bit eccentric, and I just wasn't around my tribe nearly enough, and I was swamped by his tribe and his being. I just inherited a beautiful half-concert grand piano in my 40th year, and I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this now? I need a home for my piano. Threw myself into the future. And then I bought that place in Metcalfe, renovated it, continued to work a couple of jobs, continued to live between the city and the country. That lasted for a few, probably 2-3 years, when I realised that actually I can't keep doing this. I had a foot in two worlds and at the same time no feet in either. Came back to Melbourne and then I fell over really badly. I think I just reached a point where everything became too much and I probably hadn't processed the enormity of the changes I'd made in my life, and I fell into a really deep depression. After that, I ended up leaving Melbourne and going to the coast where my parents were, where we spent time as kids on holiday, and I just healed. I spent time healing there, and I ended up buying a block of land, meeting a partner who was nearly 30 years older than me. He lived 5 doors away. He was a potter and a bodyboarder and a birder, and planted a very beautiful rainforest in his backyard. And we kind of, I built a house. I designed and built a house, which I'd always wanted to do. And I thought, oh well, maybe this is what I'm meant to do. Maybe I'm meant to just live this life. And it was very beautiful in Congo. 3-minute walk to the beach, bookended by national park, the dreaming track on our doorstep. There were some people who were my tribe, but as a musician, it's very difficult to find musical people. And there were some musical people, but they're very spread out on the coast. I think I found my place as well, very much. It was a really hard adjustment coming from a place where you wake up to birdsong and to the sound of the waves, and you walk outside at night and you can see the Milky Way and Dark Emu, and that's the norm. And then to come to busy inner city Brunswick, where I bought this gorgeous home in the old Brunswick Market building. But I have settled back here now, and I love it. I love my 1 kilometre lifestyle. I love my volunteering down the road in the garden at the Big Umbrella. I love the people in my neighbourhood. I love the multicultural shop owners who I just chat to. I really miss that generosity and warmth of spirit, which I have always loved about Melbourne. I live around the corner from the Jazz Lab and I connect with people who know and understand music in a way that I can talk to them about it. I've got scores in my drawers that I've written for orchestral or chamber ensembles that have never seen the light of day. And I'm really loving my teaching. I'm loving being self-employed and doing my own thing and not answering to anyone else. And I'm excited about what is going to happen. It's been a year now that I've really settled back in this city, and I do feel like, we've set the stage for some